My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts.
This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You're probably wondering why every night now the camera doesn't automatically come on. It all goes back to YouTube again because YouTube doesn't have an on-off button. So as soon as I start the streaming on OBS software, it immediately starts streaming on YouTube. So I have to have the camera off because otherwise you're not going to see the intro on YouTube. So what are we talking about today? Well, still a little under the weather, having a little issue with my voice, but we are going to talk about the GOP establishment, this health care bill. It's a complete disaster. What's going on in the White House as far as the GOP goes? I see something fishy going on there. And I just got something a minute ago about Bill Cosby. This guy's a psychopath, and any attorney that would say what this attorney said is also a psychopath. Well, let's get started. So here's going to be the warning order. I'm going to try to keep a little focus tonight and cut this a little short because I just don't have much of a voice, and I'm going to have to go talk for 3 hours here in just a minute on Sirius XM Patriot Channel 125. I had a great conversation with truckers last night about, I think that's the majority of people that listen to that show. So unfortunately, it's not the where they're going with it is not talk radio as much as it is breaking news. So it is what it is. So if you don't like that, truckers, let them know because you are the majority of people that listen to that show in the evenings. And I think that's important for you guys to get what you pay for or what you want and what you pay for. So don't be afraid to let Sirius know that a news show versus a conservative talk show is not what you want. I mean, you got Fox News and CNN. I don't know why they would change this at Sirius, but evidently that's what they're going for on most of the Sirius shows that belong to the Patriot Channel. So don't be afraid to let Patriot know that and let Sirius know it, that that's not why you like the Patriot Channel. If you want breaking news, you go to Fox News or you go to CNN. If you want opinions and you want factual-based opinions, the only place you're going to get it now on a grand scale with all the heavy hitters is going to be on the Patriot Channel. I don't know. I'm at a loss for this, why they would change that. But anyway. So anyway, I'll be there at 9 until midnight tonight and tomorrow. So here's what I think I'm gonna just cover real quick. You know, I say this a lot on this show. You have to be very careful with the heroes that you choose, and you have to be very careful when you put people in charge. You have to hold them accountable and hold them to task. Now, those things are a little bit different when you have somebody, you idolize them, or you put them up there on a pedestal and you say, this is a person I want to emulate. It's a very dangerous thing, but it's also very dangerous, and it's separate but the same in a lot of ways. When you put your faith in politicians and leaders and you push them forward, you make them into celebrities, and then so many people try and justify what's going on with the GOP. I mean, Democratic Party, Democrats, I guess they try to justify that, but the Democratic Party is really a communist party now. I know that Zuckerberg and all the people at Facebook and the people at Twitter, probably YouTube as well, they're all, they think they're socialist. Listen, folks, You need to go study communism, and you'll see that you're living in a lie. Socialism is never going to stop once you get it. I gave this analogy a long time ago. Now I'm going to divert for just a second because I want to share this again. I gave this analogy years ago on David Webb's show when I was hosting that on Sirius. I think I did it on Sean Hannity's show as well, and I've done it before here, but I think it's worth mentioning again. Socialism and communism and a republic like where we live. You know, people mistake it for a democracy. They want to call it a capitalistic democracy, whatever. You know, the reality is we live in a free nation. Okay, so let's just leave it. Let's just call it that and not get hung up on these terms. Forgive me if I have to drink some tea or clear my throat as I talk here. So I'm going to put this in terms that everybody can understand. So Facebook, if you're censoring this tonight, just stop for a second and listen. By the way, our reach, that's the pages, number of pages that, or as people scroll over this show, went from 500,000. It was 1 million at one point. Then it went down to 500,000. Went back up. 3 days ago, it was 250,000. Last night and the night before is like 7,000 people. That's how far Facebook has, for some reason, not allowed this show to get out and go over the reach. Now, I know that they're messing with that number because the number of views at any given time is just as high. And the very interesting thing is when you get off of Facebook Live, it gives you a number of views, not viewers, but views where people have seen it. And for that number to be the same when you only have reached 6,000 people, literally 1.7 thousand, as the night before when you had 250,000 people reached, I think it's clear, the evidence is there that they're either capping that number at 1.7 thousand, where they're either not letting the show go out any further than that, they're not letting the reach go out any further than that. Something in the numbers from my investigative standpoint, and I would love to sit down and debate this with anybody who thinks that that's not the case. One of two things are happening. Either they're jacking with the numbers because they want me to pay to boost this thing, in which case, Facebook Live and free is not really free, and it's all a scam to get money, or they're censoring conservative viewpoints. It's one or the other. So hopefully they're watching this and they'll listen to what I'm about to say. So socialism, if you look at an all-you-can-eat buffet and free enterprise, let's start with free enterprise. Let's start with a free society like we live in now. There's a centralized government. We have a government, a federal government. We have state and local governments. Some states may be more regulatory in their food and the way you run a restaurant than the states or than the federal government. I'm sure the federal government has some types of regulation that they put down about people with restaurants and food and so on and so forth. But by and large, it's a state ran regulation. And so you decide you want to start a business. So you either work and save up money, or maybe you go get a loan, or maybe you have a rich uncle, maybe you're rich. Doesn't really matter. You come up with the money. You start a restaurant. Now, this is a free society. You start a restaurant, unless you're a nonprofit, you're starting that restaurant to get a profit, to make a profit. So you go and you start this restaurant and you put out foods that you think people will choose, and you open your store for the hours that you think people want to eat. If by and large, after a while, you start to find that you really only have a breakfast crew, you may adjust your hours where you open earlier, 5 a.m. versus 7, and then you close at, at like 1 instead of closing at 6 or 8 in the evening. Maybe you have more of a lunch and evening crew, so you open up then at 10 o'clock, and then you stay open until 9 or 10. But it's your choice because you're in charge. It's your profit. It's your business. You can fail or you can succeed based on how you manage what you've created. Now, also same thing with the food. You have broccoli and potatoes and bread and kind of dull things, right? And maybe you have one meat or two meats of fish and a chicken. And you find out after a while that people they're not really eating the broccoli or wasting your money on it. The fish, not particularly fond of the fish, but they love the sweets. So you put more sweets out there. You find out which, either you add more vegetables or you take the ones that they don't like away and you add more vegetables. Maybe you put different fish out there. You try whatever you can to get people to buy it. If it's a breakfast thing, you just put out eggs and sausage and whatever. At the end of the year, you pay your taxes to the government, to the city, and to the state. You now that Obamacare is hopefully one day leaving, you won't have a mandated insurance regulation for people like is happening now, so you can actually employ people full time, and so on and so forth. So you deal with the regulations that you have, but you pretty much pay your taxes and you go on, you strive for success. Now, that's the way a free society works. You're given the opportunity, the freedom to make your own opportunity. You're given the freedom to look at how your things work and how they don't work and come up with the right way to make a profit. If you can't do that, if it's not your talent, then you fail, and you're free to fail. But then you go back and you work somewhere else and so on and so forth. So let's look at a socialistic society. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to get at here is that the all-you-can-eat buffet is representative of the government which you have. Okay, so a free society, you're free to make it, you're free to fail, and you're free to profit, and whatever you profit, however much you profit, then that's what you profit. Now, if you have a socialistic society with a socialized government, where the government has more centralized power, and the government has more regulations, and the government takes a lot more of what you make, but what you'll get in turn for that is socialized medicine. You'll get free or cheaper education. And I'm sure there's other socialized programs that you could come up with, that a bigger welfare program, a bigger subsistence program, I don't know, housing assistance, whatever they can come up with that they think you might need. So the interesting thing about the way that this works is you decide you want to go open a company, right? So you open up this all-you-can-eat buffet in a socialistic country. Now, the regulations are much more stringent, and a socialistic government's going to start being more like an uncle, where it says, well, we need to leave the broccoli out there. But you say, well, people don't want it. Well, we need to leave the broccoli out there, and that's what we want people eating because it's healthier, and we want it out there. Also, we want you to be open from the hours of 9 until 5. You say, well, most people are coming in for lunch and dinner, and they say, well, we're regulating the way that these restaurants are open at certain hours, and that's people are just going to have to eat an earlier dinner. Or they may tell you you're not going to be a breakfast restaurant, you're going to be a dinner restaurant, because they think that's where more money is going to be made, and that's where they're going to end up keeping more of your money. Either way, you're going to have more regulations, more control on what you serve, more control on what you on the profits that you get. All that control is going to be lorded over you by the government. More and more control. Now, along with that control comes more deviant politicians, regulators, people who are manipulating the system so that they can get their own pockets lined, so that they can gain more power over people. The power becomes like a narcotic for these people. Now, here's the one thing I didn't mention about the free society. You, the person that doesn't own the restaurant, you can go eat whenever you want. You can eat as much as you want. You can go in and throw down as much money as you want and not eat any of it. Doesn't matter. You make your money. You can go spend it how you want. In a socialized government, there's going to be more regulations on how you spend your money. You're going to say, well, I wanted to eat breakfast at 8. They're going to say, no, the restaurant's not open until 9. So you got to eat at 9. Why didn't I want to eat dinner at 6 o'clock? I want to eat dinner at 8. Well, the restaurants aren't open until 8. They're open until 6. Because we want to save on electricity. We're the centralized government. We tell everybody else what to do. So it starts to get more and more stringent. Now, ultimately, almost everywhere a quote-unquote socialized government springs forward, there are individuals within that government that believe in the thing called communism. They use socialism as a stepping stone to get to a all encompassing centralized government that controls everyone and controls how things are ran, hoards the money, hoards the food, in an effort to break the people and get them to synthesize as one. That's the great synthesis of communism that these people believe in. And then eventually they tell everybody the centralized government will just disappear. And there'll be a utopia, and you'll be left to your own to make the decisions and to help each other out and to give each other food and take care of each other and work when you need to and take when you need to without the government. Okay. So you have a communist. Almost always a socialist government will form into a communist government or a fascist government. Either way, communist or fascist, where it's led by a dictator, what's going to end up happening is you try to open up a store, they may or may not let you open up the store, the restaurant. When they do, you say, well, we don't want to serve broccoli. You don't want to serve broccoli. That's all you're serving, broccoli and bread. And the people are going to get water. And the people can only come here between this time, like, you know, it's like they can come here at 9 o'clock until 9:45, and then they can come back at 6:15, and they have 30 minutes to eat then. That's when the time is allotted for them to eat. You say, well, people yesterday were really hungry, and they were strung up outside the line. In order to get through the line, it was taking people more than 30 minutes. They say, well, those people don't get to eat. They should have got there earlier. Well, where is all the food? That's none of your concern. And then if people complain and then they want to raise a ruckus about it, they're taken behind the line where the food is, and they're never to be seen again. That's where a communist government is so centralized that they completely take over everything. And you, the person that was free to eat whenever you want and spend your money on whatever you want, you want to go get a homeless guy and bring him in and feed him in a free society? Listen, I hate to tell you, those of you that believe in socialism and communism, the further you get into government control, the less choice you have in doing what you want with your money, who you want to help with your money, what you want to eat with your money, and what businesses that you want to own with your money. The control is taken away from you and your decisions, and it's given to a centralized government in which they will control you. And never once in the history of mankind has that type of control worked its way out to where it was a utopia for all. Not one single time. In contrast to that, free societies that have sprung up through time have done the complete opposite, where they've allowed people their own freedom, their own choices, and the ability to succeed or fail. And in communist countries, they just take all that freedom away, and your entire life is pretty much a failure. You're not going to strive to be this or strive to be that. Even the people who are, have athletic abilities, maybe they don't want to be an athlete. In a communist country, they're taken and they're made to perform in that sport. That's the way it is. So people better realize when it comes to choosing the right people to lead your government, or choosing the right people that they want to put on a pedestal and worship an idol, that they better realize somebody like Beyonce and her drug-dealing husband, those types of people are going to lead you down a path of division, of hatred and anger and gluttony and perverse desires. Whereas you take somebody who is a veteran, who's served their country and has worked hard, raised good kids, and never, ever had a problem with the law. There's people that never had a problem with the law. There's people that have dark skin, brown skin, white skin, people that have, Asian eyes or eyes like mine, people that have long flowing hair or curly hair, and they go their entire life without ever having a problem with law enforcement because they drive the speed limit, they put their turn signal on when they turn, they let people go because they're not in such a hurry. So those are the people that you should be idolizing. People who lived a great life and helped people out and did what they were supposed to and took care of people and helped people out, smiled, and didn't want except just to be the best they can be. That's somebody you should be idolizing. So you see, folks, when we put people up there, politicians in the GOP, and you're probably conservative if you're watching this show, and you think, well, we should put, we should put this person up there because the GOP says this is who our choice is, and we hem and haw over this person, and we push them forward, and it turns out they don't do anything. What does Marco Rubio do? I don't know. Jason Chaffetz finally leaving. I don't know what that guy did. Everybody talks about Trey Gowdy like he's some kind of Superman. Tell me what Trey Gowdy has done since he's been in. He sat on many, many different of these different panels when they bring people in, and nothing has come out of it. Nothing. The Benghazi hearing, nothing. Failure. The Clinton hearings, nothing. Failure. Comey, nothing. Failure. Nothing's coming out of it. And now when I look at the health care bill and how these four people, four or five people from the senators that come out and say they're not going to deal with this, they're not going to work with this because this health care bill is a failure. Well, obviously there's division. Can these people not get together and work this out before they come out and make the conservatives in this country look like idiots? Because the liberals judge every single one of us based on what the nonsense that they see in Washington, D.C. They say, well, you sent them there. You must be an idiot too. We do the same thing. Nancy Pelosi, anybody who ever cast a vote for that woman, I think they should literally go to the doctor and look through the records and make sure that they didn't fall down and have a severe head injury at some point in their life. That's the way I feel. So I'll judge people based on who they voted for. I'll look at them and say, like Hillary Clinton, obviously, maybe you're not a jerk, maybe you're not a mean person, but you're obviously misinformed if you voted for Hillary Clinton. The GOP continues to fail. They continue to put people up there and put them out there that don't do anything. What have they done since even Ronald Reagan's era? Nothing. We didn't even fight a war on terror correctly. We didn't fight a war on drugs. Those were going on underneath Bush 1, Bush 41, and Bush 43. So we have to realize, conservatives and free thinkers in this country have to realize that first and foremost, there are people that are liberal, such as my good buddy Rick Unger, who I was on Sean Hannity's show today with. And he's gotten to the point where he actually says about the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and some of these other people, Rick was saying today that if somebody did something illegal, he wants them prosecuted, period. He doesn't care who they are. We need to be saying the same thing. We also need to be saying if people don't do a good job, they need to be gone. And we need to raise, look, every 4 years, 6 years, and 2 years, you get the chance to vote people in and out of office. But I say this, if somebody is failing, like a Jason Chaffetz is failing, the district in which he serves, they should be ballistically angry, and they should not stop hounding that guy until he leaves office. As I told the truckers last night on Patriot Tonight, there's power in numbers. If you don't like the way things are being regulated in the trucking industry, then I would advise the truckers get together. And I'm not talking about forming a union. I'm talking about getting together and standing together. You have social media. Pick somebody who is a leader, somebody who knows how to voice what the problems are. Don't pick somebody because they get up there and they say, pick me. That ain't the right thing. You're never going to get the people who stand up. Sometimes they're good. I think Donald Trump stood up and said, pick me. And he's the right guy for the job. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too. However, we have to be careful with these people. It doesn't matter if it's a trucking industry, doesn't matter if it's a senator or congressman, a city official, police departments. You know, you guys have people that I wish that was moonshine. We have people that in police departments that all of a sudden they're elected as sheriff, or they're promoted to chief of police, and the entire department hates that person. They say they're incompetent. They don't like working with them. Well, how come all the cops don't get together and do something about that? I know why. Because it's like it always is. 10% of the people in law enforcement do 90% of the work, and the other 90% flounder all the time. I'm not saying that's the exact numbers, but you know that old saying. It's more like the 80-20 rule, I think. But people don't stand together because somebody's gonna come in there and cause a cancer. So your best bet is start working together as much as possible. Build groups of people that can stand together, and then get the truth out and show people that this is the reality of what's going on. I got to say this, though, when it comes to, and then I got to move on a little bit. When it comes to the GOP, I tell you what, let's go to the A block. Now that I've done that, I've set the groundwork. Let's go to the A block. There. Okay, there it goes. Get my earpiece fixed. So, the White House. I am a Trump supporter. There's no doubt about that. Okay, I support Trump. I thought he was and I do think he's the only person that ran for president that had real operational experience, that showed that he was capable of looking at a problem and picking out the right people to solve that problem. Free of, well, I don't want to say free of ego, but in order to build a building, you have to be able to look for a person who's going to do it the cheapest but the best. And you also have to be willing to let other people say, no, that's not the way that should be. In order to do it right, we need to do it this way. Well, that's why I liked President Trump. But I got to tell you, I know quite a few people that work in and around the White House. And that's the first time I've ever really truly been able to say that. But I do. I know several. And there's something going on in the White House. It's troubling me to death. Reince Priebus, who towards the end of the election process said, listen, I guess he chose the right person. I thought bringing in Steve Bannon was going to be a good balance to Reince Priebus. The reason I said, okay, he chose Reince Priebus, we'll go with Reince Priebus, was because that guy is as establishment as a person could get in the GOP. And because the president lives and works in an establishment world, and he's not establishment, I thought maybe this might work out. But the more I look at the GOP establishment, the more I look at, somebody just took the words right out of my mouth on Twitter, snakes in the grass. I see people, I don't know if they're communist, but I definitely see on the GOP side, people that are organized for nefarious reasons. So that's, to me, is organized crime. Reince Priebus is responsible for firing people and hiring people in the White House. Reince Priebus is the reason why, I don't know if you ever saw that picture. Let me pull that picture up here. The picture of the White House staff when the president was coming in. In case you didn't see this, I'll pull it up here. Let me see here. Let me see if this comes up here. Perfect. Man, when the Googles work, it works great. All right. Make sure the lighting's down here so you can see it. Now, you see these people? That was when Trump came and visited the White House. They are not happy. See if I can get the camera to focus on it. There it goes. Not happy at all. Do you know that many of those people still work in the White House? They work in the White House because Reince Priebus has not fired those people. Why? That's the question I have for you. If the American people can see what's going on with this nonsense of a shadow government, you can call it whatever you want. You know what it is? We've had for too many years nefarious people in government, and they recruit nefarious people. People that recruited in law enforcement, they recruited people because they were female, gay, or had dark skin, not because they were qualified for the job. As I said over and over again, I don't care if a firefighter is a woman or a man, but they better be able to lift 230 pounds and carry it out of this building if I'm overcome by smoke, and also 17 pounds because that's how much Rico weighs. But that's never going to happen to me because I won't ever be caught in a situation like that because I'm aware. That's another side story. But if a woman is not capable of carrying somebody out of or dragging somebody out or can't hold her own weight, then she should not be in that job. If a person that has dark skin is not qualified and was a gang member or somebody who just is not set out to be in law enforcement, they shouldn't be automatically picked because of the color of their skin. You see, this whole minority thing, you know what it comes down to? A useful tool for those who want to divide the country. I don't look at people by the color of their skin or their gender or their sexuality. I look at them and I say, I don't have to judge them. Are you qualified to do this job? If you're not qualified, you should not be in the job. And it's the same thing with leaders. There's plenty of tests out there to find out if somebody's a real leader. Honest to goodness, folks, and I've never said this on any show before, ever. Before I took the test for the FBI, somebody told me that's in the know, they said, when you go and they asked me a question, I answered, they said, that's a perfect answer that a leader would give, but it's not what the FBI is going to want to hear. When you go in there, you have to remember the people that wrote the entrance exam for the FBI are educators. They're not agents, and they're liberal. And I was like, wow. So I went back and thought about all these different questions that I'd be asked, and the answers were nowhere close to what I would have said. But I went in there. I said, what the heck? This person obviously knows more than I do. I went in there, and I answered those questions exactly like I thought they would have been answered by somebody who was an educator and who was liberal, and I passed. If I would have answered those questions as per the way a real leader would have handled those things, I probably would have failed that test to get in the FBI. Now, for every one applicant that gets hired in the FBI, there's 90,000 people that apply for every job. So that tells you how stringent it is, and it also tells you how tightly worded those tests are, because if I answered those questions purposely from a liberal standpoint of how a leader would think, then you can see how they're weeding people out in law enforcement in the FBI. That's why the DOJ and that's why the FBI is so liberal. The rest of law enforcement has gone the same way. Now, it's also the reason why I didn't stay in the FBI for long. And everybody should take note of that. If you have to think the way other people would think in order to get a job, and it's not the way you are, you need to walk away from that dream and find your reality, because you're not going to be happy in that reality. Now, how does this all go back to the White House? Well, Reince Priebus obviously identifies with these people. He's not getting rid of them. The president has been shielded, and I've heard this from numerous people. The president has been shielded from advisors. He's been shielded from reaching out to people. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they shield him, but they do it. Surrounded by these cloak and dagger shadow government people, surrounded because they didn't get rid of them. There hasn't been. Have you heard, besides the State Department, have you heard of any mass firings in the government since the president took office? No, you have not. Have you heard of mass hirings since the president got in office? No, you have not. Which should tell you that the people that were serving under Barack Obama are still in the White House. And that is very, very alarming for me. Very alarming. And it sets the standard for everything that we see that's going on around him. I think, and people have been giving him a lot of grief about these tweets, I think his tweets are probably the most important thing that he has. If, in fact, it is him tweeting. They are more powerful than the evening news. And as he just put out earlier on a tweet, he said that his tweets are so powerful that it can make his enemies tell the truth. And I believe that. I think we should get behind the president's tweets. I think he should tighten it up and make sure that he's tweeting no more mistakes and turning it into whatever that cumfefe was. That was a mistake. You're not going to believe how my... So let me just... I do these side notes. Forgive me, folks. When on the Facebook thing, it freezes. It's still going on Facebook. I can see it on here. But on the computer where I'm actually broadcasting it from, the picture freezes, and I'm not above self-deprecating humor. Look at how this thing froze. I look like Popeye. Okay, so I've got to get out of here in just a minute. So let me go ahead and transition from that. Here's what I want to take away from the first part of this show about the people that we put in office and the people that are around them in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is the biggest problem we have in this country right now. It is what has prevented real change in inner cities. It's what has caused or allowed subversive groups to become a part of our government. It's how the Muslim Brotherhood became a part of our government. Washington, D.C. is like a toilet bowl that never fully flushes. It just circles around and it draws the feces right down into the leadership of our country. That was a bad. I know I'm going to catch some stuff on that, but that's the truth. It's forever spinning and never fully flushes. And so we are left in Washington, D.C. The only thing that gets thrown out of the toilet bowl of Washington, D.C. are good people. The rest of the stuff just sits right in there and never flushes. And we have a cesspool. It's not a swamp. You see, again, swamps are actually parts of the forest that thrive with life, unbelievable life. A cesspool, like a sewage plant. That's really what Washington, D.C. is. And the president needs to drain the sewage and build a government. That's what needs to happen. I wouldn't even say swamp creatures, Stephanie. I wouldn't even give... These people are nothing more than feces floating around in a sewage plant. They don't do anything for the American people. Make sure we still got connection on Twitter. It does look like we have it. I just don't have it. See if I can get this iPhone working by slamming it on the ground. All right. Didn't it do this to me the other night? I guess I got to get rid of this old iPhone. Somebody donate an iPad. So we need to start putting pressure on Reince Priebus. People need to start tweeting about this guy. They need to start making sure that he realizes that we're on to him, because somewhere around that toilet bowl, Reince Priebus or whoever is in charge of getting rid of these people are not getting rid of them. A lot of these are not people who have to go through screening. They don't have to go through, when I say screening, they don't have to go through Congress or the Senate. but they're being left there for a reason, and I don't trust that reason, and I don't trust somebody would come in like Reince Priebus in the position that he's in and not get rid of these people. His job is to manage the White House, and he's not doing it. And these leaks that come out of there, they need to get independent FBI, either former FBI agents that have been out for a long time, or they need to go and find people that have been working cases for 20 years or more that have no desire to be executives, and they need to put them in charge of investigating all this stuff. Today, Rick Unger, when we were on Hannity, he kept saying, "What are the lies? What are the lies?" The whole thing is a lie. All this stuff, this obstruction of justice, the Russian collusion, all this stuff is lies. But they just keep telling it over and over and giving it credence by putting a special prosecutor in there who's a criminal, who was put in there by a criminal acts of another criminal, James Comey. And it's the biggest failure that this administration has had so far, I believe, is Jeff Sessions. Because Jeff Sessions recused himself from something that was an outright lie, something that there was nothing. Look, I've seen nothing to this, nothing. And in Washington, D.C., if there's something, it's going to go at the speed of light. I've seen nothing from it. Why would Sessions recuse himself? Did he do it because somebody told him Trump's going down? And he said, well, I better recuse myself and get out of the way. I don't know. But so far, Jeff Sessions has done nothing. He's done nothing to go against these people. Obviously he's not in control of the DOJ. And Reince Priebus is obviously not controlling the White House properly. So something is up with these people. And they all surround the man that we hired to go there, who said the right things and is still saying the right things. But there's a mess up there, and I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out. But we need to keep our eyes open and keep looking because something is there. Let me pull Twitter back up here. All right. Let's go to the B block, and then I'm going to close it out because I got to go. I got to go talk more with this throat. All right. Let's see here. Hold on one second there, folks. Got to go back down to my Twitter page. Technology, it's another farce. They make you think everything works so great. All right. Here we go. So this is the last thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. Okay. If you haven't shared this show, share it now. If you haven't tweeted it out, tweet it out. Numbers are a little low tonight. I don't know how many shares we've had. I'm going to give everybody just a second to do that. See if we can get these numbers up here for a second. While I do that, before I read this next story, I want you all to remember right here below me, gofund.me/The Experts Roadshow. Listen, one night a week, when you go to the store to get groceries, don't buy one thing. Send that money here to the GoFundMe page. Look, we talked enough about broccoli tonight, or how bad sugar is. Don't buy sugar for a night. I don't know. We need to get the donations back up. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, that didn't help any, the numbers. So here we go. Bill Cosby. Thank you, Stephanie, for sending this to me. Bill Cosby, and his attorney have decided that Bill Cosby is to teach young people how to avoid sexual assault charges. He will hold free town halls to discuss the judicial system. So that's less than 1 week after he was not acquitted. It was declared a mistrial in his sexual assault case. And on Thursday, his rep, Andrew Wyatt, told Good Day Alabama host Janice Rogers, this is coming from the Rolling Stone, so you know it's got to be true, that the actor is planning to hold a series of town hall meetings starting sometime in July to help educate young men and women about sexual violence, specifically the threat of being accused of inappropriate behavior. Now, listen to what his rep, Mr. Wyatt, says. This is bigger than Bill Cosby, Wyatt said on the show. This issue can affect any young person, especially young athletes of today, and they need to know what they're facing when they're hanging out and partying, when they're doing certain things they shouldn't be doing, and it also affects married men. All right, there's really not much more that I have to say about that for you to see how sick that is. Those are people that can, look, this guy got lucky that that this was a mistrial. And instead of walking away from this with his head down, kind of like Bill Murray did at the end of Caddyshack after he blew up that golf course, just kind of put his head down and kind of walked away like this right here. This guy is going to go hold town halls and try to teach people how to avoid not sexual assault charges. What? That is psychotic. That is somebody who obviously does not understand reality and good from bad. Obviously. He's not even embarrassed. And the attorney, I don't know. I'm up in arms. Is that a psychopath or is it just an attorney? I don't know. It's either narcissism to the nth degree or that's just somebody who's psychopathic and has no soul, no feeling. So, I think I'm going to cut it there, folks. I don't really have to say anything else about that. It's so weird. I may talk about that a little bit more tonight. If that guy is, I'm looking at what you guys are saying, if that attorney is not psychopath or crazy or narcissist and he's just being an attorney, we need to rethink our whole legal system because that's disgusting. And then one other last thing I'm going to say about Don Lemon chastising Harry Houck, who's a friend of mine, last night on CNN about the shooting of Castile, Orlando Castile, I think that's who it was, who his girlfriend, another narcissist, videotaped, Facebook Lived his shooting by law enforcement. I wish I could have been next to Harry because Harry did a great job, but he missed a very, very important thing in that they kept focusing on the police officer. And was the police officer too close? Did he make wrong decisions? He should have waited on the guy to get his concealed weapons carry permit out, whatever. The guy told the cop, "I have a gun," and then obviously was doing something. He was reaching for his wallet. He was moving his hands. If a cop comes to you, folks, and you have a concealed weapons carry permit, or even if you don't and you have an illegal gun on you, gun on you, this is what you do. You put your hands out the window and you say, as the law enforcement officer is walking up, "Officer, I am armed. It is in my waistband, and I will not move my hands. I'll let you disarm me or I'll do whatever your commands are." That's it. You comply and you'll live. You do some kind of stupid stuff, you're going to get shot. And that's what happened here. And Don Lemon, who is as far from a law enforcement officer as a human can actually be and knows nothing about this job, has no right to judge this officer and tell Harry Houck, who had 25 years on the job, what is right and what's not right. I think Harry was a former Marine. He was NYPD for 25 years. This is a guy who knows what he's talking about. And instead of having Harry and people on like they did on CNN with me, and that's why I didn't go back to CNN. Yeah, Harry was a detective. So I wouldn't put up with this. I'm not going to go on and be anybody's punching bag. And that's the case. And I used to get death threats all the time from that. But, oh, whatever. I'm still alive. Okay, let's go to the Truth Zone. Then I got to get out of here. Literally, I got to get out of here. There it is. Man, I'm all over the place tonight. It's okay. You know when you get that feeling, folks? You know when you get that feeling and you're just not, you got the sinus going on and you're a little out of it? That's the way I feel. You know, that's my excuse. That's why I hit the wrong button there and played this the wrong song at first. That's why my voice is a little choppy, because I keep getting the phlegm in my throat. What is Washington, D.C.'s excuse? Listen, it's not even 30 years. Washington, D.C. has been failing for over 100 years. When are we going to get this right? When are we going to change this system? We don't need a revolution. We need to stop this two-party system. It doesn't work. It does not work. It's communists and criminals on the left, criminals and I don't know what else on the right. And obviously you can see that they're working together, but they're not working for us. They work for us. They should work for us. The money that we give every year on tax day is not their money. That's our money. They should be doing what is best for us with our money. But they don't. They do what's best for them. They give contracts to people in their districts so that they can get reelected. That's illegal, but they do it in a way that, like good lawyers, where they can stretch the law, maybe do some unethical things, but not break the law. That's what they do with our money. We put them in positions to make sure that this country is safe. They leak more information out of Congress, including the Senate and the House of Representatives, than any other place in government. They'll leak it that fast. And they care not. They care not about our national security. They don't care about the safety and security of this country from natural disaster. And they absolutely do not care about the inner city. They don't. I don't feel good today. That's why I've made mistakes. What's their excuse? For over 100 years of passing down nonsense and criminal behavior, all for two political parties that are private companies. Think about it. When you throw in the mix of that psychopaths like Bill Cosby in the entertainment industry, or propaganda experts like the media industry, activists like Antifa or BAMN who want to overthrow this country, and what do you get? It's not hope, that's for sure. It's a scary situation. I'm not wanting to scare people tonight, but folks, I don't know how much longer we can sustain this. I'm Jonathan Gillum. The truth has arrived. I'll always bring you the truth. But the truth is taking a back seat to these people. The truth is being hampered. The only way the truth is going to be able to prevail is if you stand up together and hold it up high. That's the only way. I'll see you all tomorrow for the Friday Night Toasts. You can catch me on Patriot Channel tonight on Sirius XM Channel 125. Remember, the truth has arrived. Thank you, Brian Gosher, for this music. Let's unify. Man, I just can't get it right tonight.
Okay, since that sicko over there, Jonathan, who's got the bronchitis thing going on, can't get it right tonight, so I'm going to take over for a second. Remember, the truth has arrived. That's what it says on the bottom of the screen. You know what else it says on the bottom of the screen? It's going to come across here in just a minute. It's going to say gofund.me/The Experts Roadshow. It's simple. gofund.me/The Experts Roadshow. It's the Experts Roadshow, but it's not going to be the Experts Roadshow if you don't go to GoFundMe. Got it? It's an equation. You put the two together. GoFundMe and the Experts Roadshow. And what does it equal? Your donations. Tell them, big guy.
That's right. As I walk across the country like the Hulk, all I can think about is how important it is to have you all take part in this GoFundMe campaign to get this going. I really don't know where I'm going with this right now, but I'm just trying to burn time until this song ends. So go to GoFundMe, gofund.me/The Experts Roadshow. Tell them, little man.
Yeah, do it. Damn, man, just do it. Alright, that's it. I'm through. You can give me all the hearts you want there on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, give me thumbs up. I don't want no hearts. I like them thumbs up. Oh, you can't do that on Twitter, though. I don't know what you do on YouTube. Probably doesn't matter. There's only like 8 people watching and nobody said a word. YouTube. Everybody go over and follow me on YouTube. Make sure you like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. One team, one fight.
You know that's right.
We're gonna drop the mic now.
We'll see y'all tomorrow. Dropping the mic.